choke on a biscuit, kick the dog, eat your greens, never mention the war. It's only bloody cooking with Renz. I'm back, baby! Today we're going to be making harissa fried chicken, served up on a flatbread in a bed of onions and garlic, some tomatoes, some olives, some chorizo, with a little bit of rucola just to add a little bit of green to the dish. It's another Renz original. This is one that I found a recipe for a while ago, lost the recipe before I had a chance to make it, kind of winged it the first time, and it was alright. So I did it a few more times, and now I'm going to pass that wonderful knowledge on to you lucky folks at home. We'll start this off in the traditional way, and that's usually a trip to the fridge. I actually do want a beer though, so I'm going to get a beer as well. As all good chefs know, cooking sober is for pussies. Delicious. I hate the tomato. Bread that has been flattened. Tomatoes. Chorizo. An onion. Garlic. Some herbs and spices. It's chicken. Harissa sa. Why is this not a funny f***ing food? Why is everything else funny and not olives? Olives? Arugula. Cream that is soured. Limes. Wonderful. So at the start of every good meal, a lot of chopping has got to happen first. To make sure we have our utensils at their optimum capacity, we've got to freaking sharpen them, like so. Well, I hope that works, because I'm not doing it twice. Moving on, I hope the metal is clean. So the first thing we're going to want to be doing the choppy chop to is the chick. Because I want to marinate it for a little bit first, and I'm going to dip it in some of this bloody smoked chili harissa, which is 3 peppers, so don't plan anything tomorrow that doesn't involve toilets. And we're going to rub it all in that and then probably get some salt and some pep. We'll give that a little bit of a chuck on there as well. And maybe marinate it in some lime as well. Well, that was very hard work. So now I'm going to have another beer. Cha-ching. Excellent. Right, now we've got our chicken all sliced up. We are now going to chuck it in this bowl of mine. Without touching it if possible. Please don't go on the... no, we did. Oh, I just cleaned this knife. Oh well. So now it's time to add our harissa paste. How much we put in? Let's just see how much it covers. That's a horrible noise, can you hear that? There we go, Alakazam. And then probably a little bit more to start with. I might have to get my hands in this. I might take my rings off. And get my hands in on this chicken. And to see how much coverage it goes. Because to be fair, I probably shouldn't get too heavy-handed with this because it will blow my face and my bum off. So let's avoid that. Oh, it smells really good though. It's not even cooked chicken, but that harissa paste just smells freaking amazing. This is smoked harissa. I've done this meal with rose harissa before, and I think just normal harissa as well, and they've all been pretty good with slightly different variants, but I have noticed it stains your hands like nothing else. I look like I've just helped deliver a baby cow. It's ridiculous. That is almost certainly enough harissa paste, so I'm going to cleanse myself. Now a little spritz of saltski, and a little spritz of pepski. I think that is good, so what we'll do is cover that with another plate. I'll leave that for a little bit. Excellent. Right, and of course, more choppy chop. Freaking onion. So I'm going to cut the onion into slightly larger chunks, let them go on the fry for a little bit longer than the rest of the stuff because I want it to be kind of soft in the background and still allow the chicken to get charry. So we're going to start off with this onion. I'm going to do it because I'm lazy, but theoretically, if you don't cut this bottom bit off, you don't cry. But I say men of true stature cry. Cowboys don't cry. Oh, my hands are actually just going to be red for the rest of my life now. It's ridiculous. Ah, oh, it's like I've been pepper sprayed. What the f***? Did I just get myself directly in the eye with onion juice? Ow! Beer will solve this. Right, that's enough of that. Let's get a big bloody frying pan. Pop that onion in there. And we're going to put that on a slow, very low heat, probably smallest top actually. Sizzle with some oil while we chop up the garlic. My nose is going now. Would you believe I took Sudafed so I didn't sound nasal? Right, so next thing to do is to chop up some garlic. I'm thinking maybe 2 cloves. I don't know if this is like really newbie to do or whether it's like the cool way of doing it. But you squash the hell out of it and then you turn it over and you squash it again. Pop off both sides and then the skin just comes off real easy like, unless you are really discoordinated. Which apparently today I'm not, so that's good. And then, right, the choppings. This is how we prevent any vampires from tasting our meals, because they all really, really hate Spanish cuisine. Slice of this little not so good bit there. Just make this as small as we can with the limitations of our physical disabilities. Something like that. Something like that. I'm just gonna whole hog of this mofo. Yeah! I am deaf to garlic! They call me the garlic grim reaper. No, that's blunted the knife, isn't it? That was time to cook. Chorizo. I don't know why I can't say that without this. So let's chop loads of chorizo. Let's go. I'm just going to take this entire U. Look at that, see? That was so good. Or it's an N. I like that. Oh. See, normal people cut the skin off this thing, so I'm going to try it, but I have kind of grown lazy in my old age and just normally just have the skin. But we'll do it for the sake of class. Right. Slice this up. I'm thinking probably half slices, because we don't want you to just bite into like a gigantic chunk of it, but you want to know when you've got some in your mouth. The one that got away. The nice thing about adding this chorizo into these meals is that when you fry other stuff with this chorizo, the oil, because I mean this thing is just absolutely full of fat, like it's hilariously bad for you, but it tastes so freaking good. The oil seeps out when you fry with it, which just makes everything else A, go orange like my hands currently are, and B, it adds like a kind of rich spiciness to everything. It's just, yeah, it's great. So we're just going to add a little spritz of fresh lime juice to this chicken. This fresh lime juice is a good way of figuring out if you've got cuts on your hand, which I recently gave myself one. You'll notice it later on in the thing. It will, it's a part of your palate that comes out with the sour, and it really elevates the chicken. A nice little spritz, not too much. Don't want to go too ham. It's not a lime chicken deal, but I miss. That'll definitely improve the flavour. So we'll chuck the plate back onto that. And the final thing that we're going to need to do a lot of chopping on, after we've given this a subtle stir. Final thing we're going to want to chop is some olives. We're only going to half these. These are going to come in much later in the actual cooking process, but we're preparing everything ahead of time because we're trying to be professional. This is a pretty easy one. It's the quickest chopping to do. So you're literally just grabbing them and half of them. And all you got to do is aim really hard and not your fingers. It's actually quite satisfying, this motion. And I am slightly scared I'm going to shave off my fingerprint. Okay, so now we've finished with all our choppy chop, we can add the garlic to the frying pan. Let's make sure this onion doesn't burn. So we're going to let the garlic sit for a little bit, not with the onions, just to soften up a smidge, and then we're going to chuck quite a lot of herbs and spices into this combination to make just the foundation of the meal, you know, have that kind of root set of flavourings that will be also in the marinade for the chicken. Spoons are like condoms for your spices. Gonna say that every episode. So first we'll be adding a little bit of cumin. It's the best spice that has ever been invented ever. It goes with everything. Have you noticed the size of the jar? I go through a lot of it. So we're gonna chuck a good little spoonful of that into here. Dash it around, making sure again the heat's been on like the lowest possible setting the entire time. Some paprika, because of course that goes with everything as well. A little bit of cayenne pepper. Cayenne pep is quite a big ingredient in harissa paste. If we were feeling really fancy, we would have made the harissa paste from scratch ourselves, but I don't have a blender that's good enough to make it into a paste, so we'll buy some shopboard. And I'm not mortaring and pestle because I'm not a caveman. So that's pretty good. Then we'll chuck a little bit of salt and pep in there. That'll be pep. That'll be salt. And then just the tiniest sprinkling of oregano, because again, it just goes with pretty much everything. Notice I went in bareback with the oregano, but that's fine. It's a herb, not a spice, so you're safe. Also beer. Just going to top the oil up in there a little bit, because otherwise it's going to get very, very dry. And we'll turn the heat up a smidge and just make sure that all of these garlic bits and onion bits are coated nicely in this set of herbs and spices. Really take on the flavours. It's really starting to smell like it's going to smell for the rest of the night. I've heard that a few times before. Right, so these onions have been simmering for quite a long time at this point, and they've really infused with the spices now. You can literally smell. Ooh, blimey. They're quite pungent, let's put it like that. So now it is time to chuck our chick into this. So this has been marinating for quite a good amount of time now. It smells spicy from here. Like, it's making my eyes water very slightly. To start with, let's put this on a slightly larger hob because we do want to fry the chicken nice and good and ideally get the outside a bit crispy. So we'll chuck it on a medium-sized heat to start with. Let's whack that in there. Bam! Let's make this all out to be even. Excellent. Also going to stick just a smidge more oil. I think it's probably the Italian in me that always adds oil to everything at every stage, but it does make it fried nice and good. Just like a mama like. And so it's going to add a little spritz of that just to make it fry just that little bit harder. So, now that we've done our initial little bit of frying, we're going to move it on to the next size up in hob over here. Doing it sequentially like a little bloody ladder, you see. I always get a bit paranoid when I'm doing chicken because I obviously do not want salmonella or worms, or more worms anyway. I always like to get the chicken a bit of a head start on pretty much every other thing in the dish. Better safe than sorry, yeah? Beef, I'll literally bite the back out of a cow. Chicken, yeah. So, we're just waiting for this to get browned pretty much on the outside. We don't want to see any pink edges, hard as they are to see through the edges of this all this topping. But once we've got these a little bit more brown, we'll start adding in other ingredients. As you can see, I've managed to lose my glass, so we're on to the tinnies, boys. Right. Oh shit. That's the chick that got away. These are starting to sizzle quite well, so we're just going to pop the heat down a smidge. And now, time to add some of the little piggy pig. So adding the chorizo at this point is really good. The oils will seep out and they'll make everything, I mean, very oily. This is not a meal designed for people with heart conditions, but outside of that it will be delicious in the best possible way. So let's just stir that in, because it's almost as much of an oil substitute as it is an ingredient, but it's also an ingredient. So we're going to want to let this simmer for sort of 5 or so minutes, just to let everything kind of percolate. So just going to stir it, keep it going. Right. Oh. Time for some flatbread. I'm just going to heat them up on the grill. Hoppa. So just going to stick these in the grill. We're not going to cook them for very long. We don't want them to become like burnt. We just warm them up a little bit, make them a bit crispy, receptive to the rest of the ingredients of this meal. Right. Now this has been going for quite a long time. All of the ingredients are starting to really get together now, which is excellent. Smelling really, really good as well. So we're going to chuck some tomatoes into this bad boy. Chuck them in there. We're going to have a couple of these stems. That's probably enough. That's starting to look good. Any good chef knows that you start plating up before you actually need to, because otherwise you end up juggling a million things. More beer. Right, let's get some heat on these darn flatbreads, Greek style. So these tomatoes are starting to get nice and singed. That's looking like a good combination there. Is this chicken cooked enough to not kill me yet is the question. I'm pretty sure that sauce is not pink, because I just want to try it for the spice levels. That's good, but what that's told me, I also want a little bit more salt and pep, good level of spice though, fit it a little bit at the back of the throat, more of that. And I think we probably want a little bit more citrus. I might add a smidge of lemon juice, just a splash, just to add that citrus tang back into the back half of it again. Make sure we haven't burnt our pizzas or flatbread even. We're good. Give them a little turn. Right. So these tomatoes are not going to get sort of fully turned into splitch, but they will, you know, hopefully soften up a little bit and kind of eke out some of their juices and add to the overall kind of hodgepodge of flavours. Whoa! Whoa! Almost burnt our flatbreads there, but we are looking pretty good. These are looking almost done. We're probably a little bit crispier than this though. Now it's time to sprinkle some olives into this damn contraption of flavours I've made. Almost took the candle up, but that's okay. Delicious. Well, these flatbreads are now done. They've just been caught before they burn, which is always good. This is making up the carb component of this meal. Everything is going to be based on these flatbreads. This is almost done. Time to plate up this delicious set of food. So let's first apply He-Man strength to this gosh darn tomato. Tomato. So now we're just going to take a bit of this. I'm just going to plop it onto the flatbread, making sure to get some of the onions that are sitting at the bottom that have kind of reduced down quite a lot at this point. Now I'll take our half of these. Just going to decorate this with a little bit of rocket. This will rocket to the next level of cooking. Kill me. I don't know. I feel like modern artists is kind of like spaff green onto stuff to make it look pretty, so we'll just go with that. That looks kind of pretty to me. Right, now we just take some sour cream. And spread it all out with a good old spoon. Give it a real good like a one of those. So here we go. We finally finished our epic quest for flavour. Chicken has been fried with harissa coating on flatbread, with tomatoes that have been chucked in there on the frying pan, some olives, chorizo, garlic, onion, all garnished with some sour cream and some rucola. Looks bloody delicious, doesn't it? When you just like a little bit of that. Well, you'll have to try it at home by following my very comprehensive recipe that I've given you today. We made it, guys. Some food got made. Renz got a bit drunk. No one got too injured. It's all been a good time. Thank you very much for watching the show. We'd like to try and make as many of these as is humanly possible. There's many strings to this bow, and it's not just the fact that I'm in fact a food maestro. I do make some music, I stream on Twitch, I talk a bunch of random stuff on YouTube occasionally, so if you did like this and you've liked some of the other stuff, subscribe, like the, I don't know why I did a thumbs down, like the video, yeah, just carry on, join Spangle Jerps. We're gonna just do some cool, fun stuff together and make some lovely, make some lovely food together. Have a good evening.